I'm Bob Howell with the Center for Vein Restoration. Dr. Lakapa, what I'd like to do, we obviously, if you just want to introduce yourself real quick for the folks who don't know you.
So guys, I'm Sanjeev Lakhanpal. I'm the founder of CVR, and thrilled that you guys all are taking the time to learn more about CVR. We have Bob's put together an amazing team here to answer any and all of your questions. And we really always want partners to join us, partners who think like us, so we can align our interests and conquer the world of venous disorders. So thank you for doing this, Bob.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Lakapa. I also want to, before we get started, introduce our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Ken Nguyen. So many of you have probably talked to Dr. Nguyen either at the meetings or he's involved with the IAC. So Dr. Nguyen, thank you so much for joining us this evening and everything that you've done to, bring on partners and
Good evening, guys. Thanks for taking the time to be here, and welcome. Happy to have you guys on board.
Next, I'd like to introduce Ken Abod. He's our Chief Financial Officer, and he's the one who helps us keep the light on and works with a lot of our partners just from bringing them on. Ken, thank you so much for joining us and being obviously an integral part of CVR and the whole partnership process. Oh, Ken, we can't hear you, sir. You're muted. Oh, there you go. So, thanks, Ken. And next, I just want to introduce John Feltz. John heads up our whole sales and marketing team. So, without John and his folks, who I'll kind of mention later on in the talk, we wouldn't be able to do things in this new Zoom world that we're living in. So John, thanks so much for being part of this tonight. There you go. All right. So just a quick, a couple of things just about our format. I mean, this is going to be pretty informal. What we're going to do is I just have a question that I'm going to throw out to our panel. They're going to answer, each of them is going to answer the question. Then I have a question for just kind of directed to each of them, and then I have one wrap-up question. So there's not a lot of questions, and then the rest of the time is going to just be question and answer from you all. Because again, everybody kind of comes to this with different thoughts and different reasons on partnerships. So we're going to leave a lot of time for questions and answers at the end. So what you can do is you can kind of type those into the chat function, and this way I can kind of get those ahead of time and prep, get them. I can kind of direct them to one of our folks to kind of answer, and then any of the other speakers can also jump in to the answers on that. So we'll get started. Just before we get started, I just kind of want to let you know that we are kind of spread out across the country. So if you're kind of wondering where our locations are, you can see where we pretty much started on the East Coast. So you'll see a lot of centers kind of in that section of the country. But we've started to kind of expand into the South, the Midwest, and actually in the Southwest, and we go as far away as Alaska. So pretty much there's nowhere we won't go if we don't, it's pretty much finding the right physician partner, and that will determine our different locations. So this will just kind of gives you some perspective. And then here's just kind of a group of the partners that have joined us in the last year. And as we mentioned, we're fortunate to have, four partners who have joined us in the last 5 years online. Right now, we have Dr. Zoe Deal, we have Dr. John Rossi, Dr. David Calcagno, and Dr. Mehu Shaw, who are all with us. So, first I'm gonna ask this to Dr. Deal and to each doctor in the group. If you could just tell us a little bit about your background prior to joining Center for Vein Restoration, and really what was your motivation for looking to partner with a different organization. So Dr.
Sure.
Deal, if you could kick it off.
Okay. I know you've got more specific questions later, so I'm going to keep this part short. I am a general surgeon and bariatric surgeon by training, originally fellowship training. And after about 10 years practicing bariatric surgery, I also did vein procedures during my bariatric surgery time. And over the years decided that I was a little more satisfied in veins. Transitioned to veins in 2012 and joined several group practices, but seemed to have something missing for me. And what I was looking for was something more than just day in, day out, going to the office, practicing veins, and then going home. I wanted to become the best in my field. And part of that meant research, education, publication. And that was one thing that CVR had that none of the other places that I worked at or was looking at had. So that was my background, how I transitioned, and what attracted me to CVR.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Deal. Dr. Rossi, same question for you, sir.
Yeah, I'm a general and vascular surgeon. I've been practicing in central Pennsylvania since 1987, which dates me, and finished my fellowship in vascular surgery at that point. Dave and I actually practiced for many years in separate practices in the area, but we knew each other pretty well and were friends. I started doing the non-invasive venous treatments in my office, my other office, probably in about 2005. We eventually started our vein center, the two of us together, and stopped doing vascular surgery in 2007. And we've been doing, we've had an exclusive outpatient vein practice since that time together. And we really enjoy it. I mean, the patients are extremely grateful. There's a lot to be learned in new technology with treatment of the diseases. And it's been a really rewarding experience. And we had a long negotiation and talk with CVR, but really found them to be really consistent with our culture and how we practice medicine. That was the biggest thing for us, was to partner with somebody who we shared the same values with and how we treated patients and so forth.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Rossi. Dr. Calcagno?
Not too much to add to what, I don't want to just repeat what John said, but I was thinking of saying the exact same things. Actually, the idea of partnering with Center for Vein Restoration was put into my head by Mehul Shaw, who gave me a call one day and said he looked at quite a number of places with which to affiliate, and this place was by far the best. So if I was ever interested in doing such a thing, I should give Bob Howell a call. And I didn't think too much of it at the time, but as time went on, as John already said, we've been doing this since the 80s and we can't live forever. And we kind of wanted something that would continue after we're not here, not just for the staff, but just to provide good care in this community, which we've been quite an integral part of. And Center for Vein was just that. I think, we're not, John nor I are planning to stop any particular time soon, but it'll be nice to know that when that day comes, it'll continue beyond just John and me.
No, that's great. Thanks, Dr. Calcagno. All right, Dr. Shaw. So we found out that you're the person who brings people here, so we appreciate that. So, but I know for you, and we'll get into this a little later on, but you just, we had talked to you for many years. So kind of give us, your thought process and really what brought you to the time when you said, hey, for me, now's the time is right to look at partnership and because a lot of it is about timing. So tell us a little bit about your journey into partnership, because again, you've had a very well-established practice for many years in Pennsylvania as well.
Sure, love to. So I'm a board certified vascular physician, and my background is both in internal medicine and vascular medicine. After finishing my fellowship in Cleveland in 1990, I founded my own practice, private practice, under Vascular Medicine Center, which I ran successfully for 28 years. All along from day one, I was doing veins for 28 years. And then I decided to partner with CVR in January of 2019. It was an interesting journey, and I must say that I have only good things to share about my relationship with CVR. So I compare choosing a partner just like choosing a life partner. And I was dating CVR for almost 4 years before I decided to seal the marriage, in 2019. So it was an interesting experience. Actually, I learned a lot about the whole process of partnering. I did not know what EBITDA is, and I learned what EBITDA is, and everything revolves around that process. And it was interesting when you want to partner with an entity, an organization. I compare CVR like the Cleveland Clinic or the Mayo Clinic in venous disease. And when you're looking for a partner, you're looking for an organization which has a great reputation, is trustworthy, it has a good financial backing, it is sustainable, and it has a competent team, both on the part of the management team as well as the physician team. And I saw these components at CVR. I had more than half a dozen offers for potential partnerships. And I chose to decide which would be the best partner for a sustained relationship. I didn't want to get married and then get divorced within a year or two. And I must say that it's been a great relationship, and it's been a very comfortable relationship. You want to look for somebody where one will be comfortable as a physician, with not only with the management team, but with all the physicians. And it's a very competent team. And one of the concerns I had was, how my employees who were with me for many, many years, how they will be dealt with once I partner with CVR. And I must say that they were well taken care of. Their salaries were intact as they transitioned. And, it's been a very pleasant journey. So that's been my experience.
No,
and I'll answer very specific questions from anyone in the audience.
No, that's great. Dr. Shaw, can you also, let us know what were some of the things going on in your practice that kind of said, hey, now's a good time to partner? Because, like you said, you weren't quite ready 1 year ago. It took 4 years. So what, was it a staffing thing? Was it back office? Was it, kind of what were some of the pressure points that said, hey, this is kind of where I need help and why I want to partner with somebody?
So as the rules and regs change in medicine, which we all know, and the insurance rules keep changing, I found it challenging. And I thought this is the time to partner with somebody, an entity, an organization with a good reputation that knows what one is doing, with a great infrastructure, which I saw was well established at CVR. And somebody I can trust with a worthy relationship, which is sustainable, as I said earlier. So that's what led me to this relationship, really. And as I hit my 60-year mark, I decided I want to start thinking of having a relationship, because somewhere a time comes in your life when you want to, look at the future. Not only, you realize that it is not only the financial aspect, but you want to have a sustainable relationship with an organization which will have the practice continue even beyond yourself. So the staff will be able to, if I were not there, how will my staff continue at the office where I am? So
Right.
those were the thoughts that made me decide to transition.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. And, if folks can also, while we're speaking, take a look at your chat boxes, make sure that's open on your phone. I know Dr. L's been sending out some welcomes to you all. So if you could just make sure that you can kind of see the chat is open. It's, it's great that we have so many potential physician partners joining us. So welcome to those who have just joined recently. Doctors, thank you so much for that. Dr. Deal.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, I'm back.
So for those who kind of joined a little bit late, Dr. Deal is the partner that's been with us the longest on this call. So she's been with CVR for 5 years, going on 6 years. Many of you see her speaking at our meetings. She's out there on social media. She's our I think our number one social media doc. She's out there always doing things on social media. So Dr. Deal, thanks again for joining us tonight. Dr. Deal, when I'm out talking to docs and when docs are thinking about partnership and they're thinking about joining a larger medical organization, one of the things that they really worry about is their autonomy and how that autonomy will go away if they join a bigger group. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us how your practice of medicine has changed, or how you treat your patients have changed since joining CVR?
Absolutely. And I apologize if I get kicked out again. I don't know what's happening with my computer. But the way I like to describe it when I'm talking to doctors is when I was in my private practice and when I was in the other group practices, I was working really hard, and I kind of felt like I was running on a treadmill where you're really trying to get to a goal and you're running, and you know what you're doing is good for the health of your practice, but you just can't seem to get anywhere. You're working just to kind of stay alive and stay healthy, and the scenery never changes, and your goal always stays the same. So joining CVR for me, and forgive me, I've got a really wild imagination, so I like to explain things like this, but I felt more like when Forrest Gump put on those bright white tennis shoes and he just hit the road and started running, and you run so far and you get to a goal, and then once you get there, you turn around and you head in a different direction and you get to a new goal. And the whole time that you're doing this, you're running just as fast, maybe even faster, but the scenery changes all the time. And while you're going, you attract a crowd and other people join you, and those people start achieving their goals, and their goals boost the entire team. Somebody creates that happy, smiley face, have a nice day t-shirt, and everybody in your group, you attract like-minded people to join you. And that just never changes. And you start to feel like you don't lose your identity, you just redefine it. And I think the great thing about it is you constantly redefine it, because where you were just kind of spinning your wheels and going to stay alive, now you're meeting those goalposts and you're saying, what's next? And every time you say what's next, there's a path for you and a way for you to get there, and the support to get there and the encouragement to get there. And I went from being a doctor that kind of went to my AVLS meeting, not knowing anybody, sitting in the back of the room, to now being a medical director for CVR. And then once I achieved that goal, went on to becoming active in the AVLS and presenting an abstract. And then from that goal, went to publishing paper, and then went to becoming a board member of AVLS. And now at our upcoming meeting, I'm one of the chairs of the committees. And those are goals that I never ever set for myself. I really, when I was in other practices, I just wanted to succeed and wanted to be good at what I did. And I may have succeeded and I may have been good at what I was doing, but part of being the best at what you do is constantly reassessing how you practice medicine and is it the best way? And that's what I was able to do at CVR. And when you redefine yourself, it gives you a whole new perspective on what reaching a goal actually means. So yes, you lose the vision of what you had of yourself before, but it becomes a much bigger, much more all-inclusive vision. And it just is never ending because you can keep going.
No, that's great. And then how about as far as kind of the day-to-day goes, as far as what you're doing in your office from the different modalities and everything like that? How has that kind of evolved being part of CVR?
So being part of CVR, we have access to the latest modalities more readily than what I had in my other practices. And being able to have access to them, get training for it, encouragement to incorporate it into my practice, but use it the way I feel I'm comfortable with, has changed. So I have all of those modalities available to me. I'm never pressured to use one particular modality, but I'm encouraged to learn and become experienced and understand all of them so that I am able to offer my patients absolutely everything without just being limited to say, hey, I can laser your veins. I can do VenaSeal, I can do Varithena, I do all my microflebectomies, I do ultrasound guided foam, hand foam, I've done Clarivein, just everything. And I also know that whatever comes up on the horizon, CVR will have access to that far more in advance of what I would have had when I was on my own. And being part of a larger group, you have that ability to get that technology.
Great. Thanks so much, Dr. Deal. You know, Dr. Rossi, I know you and Dr. Calcagno obviously have run a very successful vein practice up in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. And a big part of your success, obviously, other than you all are very good doctors and very well known in the area, is that you guys did a lot of marketing. And you marketed your practice very well, just through a lot of variety. So a lot of potential partners kind of say, hey, you know, what's going to happen to our marketing and how do you work with the Center for Vein Restoration folks, you know, once that happens? So can you kind of tell us a little bit about the marketing approach of joining a national vein company and kind of how that kind of worked with you guys being in a local market up there in Mechanicsburg?
Well, what we found was that, you know, it takes a lot of physician time and input to do that. Even though, you know, we had, you know, partnered with an outside agency, you still have to supervise and you have to make sure that things are done the way you want them to be done and so forth. And building the relationships with the different entities by which we marketed. And what we found is CVR, when we partnered with them, they came in and pretty much looked at all that and kept going with the things that we were already doing that was working. And if anything, they boosted it and strengthened it. And personally, you know, what I noticed is it took a lot of that administrative burden off me so that I could just focus on taking care of patients. And we've been really pleased with that. If anything, I think that the contact with referring doctors has intensified, which was critical in our market. Most of them know who we are. And so I think it's been really well. I would describe it as continuing what we did, but just turning it up a notch without us necessarily having to have a hands-on approach, although we certainly have input, which is helpful. I don't know if Dave, you have anything else you want to add to that. But.
No, John, of the two of us, John did the lion's share of the marketing work, so he was the appropriate one to answer this question. But they really just, like John said, they worked with the agency we were working with to kind of pass the baton smoothly. They didn't just come in and say, this is the way we do it. They continued many of the things and added a lot. The physician liaison, I don't want to get into too many details, but they put a tremendous amount of resources into marketing your practice, things that we just could not have done, that being just a two-man group.
Yeah, so, doctors, I kind of like to see it as like, you're playing one of those old-fashioned video games that you guys were doing, and then when you go over the power booster type thing. And so I think Dr. Rossi, when you're kind of saying we just really kind of boost what you're doing is really a good way to put that. So I appreciate your guys' input on that. Now, Dr. Shaw, you touched on this a little bit before, and again, I know you can talk about it a little bit. Dr. Mashaw, for those who don't know him, is very, very meticulous and very, very organized. So when he tells you that he looked at Center for Vein Restoration and a bunch of other groups, he had his checklist of kind of what he looked at. So Dr. Shaw, if you can kind of, again, tell the group a little bit more in detail, what were the specific things that you looked at when you're kind of looking at the different partnership options for docs that are out there?
So out of, about a half a dozen or so potential partners, I was able to figure out who not to partner with pretty quickly, because I could figure out some potential partners were folks that I needed to stay away with a 10-foot pole. Others who were not suitable, I was just not comfortable. Finally, it came down to two that I could partner with. I may have chosen a little lower financial choice, but I chose CVR with somebody I would be more comfortable. I felt very comfortable in terms of the trustworthiness, the reputation, and the long-term sustainability. And, I didn't want a partner who would be a fly-by-night partner that may disappear before mostly when you partner with, as far as the financial aspect, you get the payment over a few years. And I didn't want the partner to disappear by the time my third payment is due. And, I felt very comfortable with the financial backing that CVR has, and the folks I dealt with, Mr. Ken Abad, I dealt with personally, and I felt very comfortable with dealing with him. He's the CFO. And, I learned a lot. I enjoyed actually the process because I took things in a stride. It's a very, the due diligence process is a challenging process. So, but when you take things in a stride, it's enjoyable. And I went through the process, and I think it was a great experience. Let's put it that way. So those were my reasons, Bob, in choosing CVR. And I have no regrets. I'm very happy with the partnership, and I only have good things to say about the relationship.
No, I appreciate that, Doctor. And I know, I'm going to pass this slide, but, I know a lot of partners when they're looking at joining CVR, this kind of gives you some of the areas that folks look at. And obviously, I think, Dr. Shaw is really we talk about kind of the success and outcomes from treating patients, and NPS is really the patient satisfaction scores that we're doing. But when folks are looking to partner with us, and I think Dr. Shaw, Dr. Calcagno, and Rossi can kind of touch on it, it's really these things that people don't see on a day-to-day basis that are kind of the engines that make it run. And it's the facilities management piece, it's the human resources folks, it's marketing, it's the IT department, it's the sales. Compliance is a big issue here. Dr. Calcagno and Rossi, I don't know if there's anything on this slide that kind of, was a pressure point for you when you were looking at partnering, that you really wanted to do your due diligence on to make sure that, we had these things in place to take care of you guys moving forward.
So
we had the, go ahead,
go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
No, I just, John and I were very fortunate in that John's two brilliant sons are accountants who specialize in mergers and acquisitions. And John and I really probably wouldn't have known what questions to answer were it not for them. And they really drilled down on really all of these areas for us. And for them to recommend their dad to proceed is clearly saying a lot for CVR. So I would have to say a lot of these things just simply confused me, but luckily we had some really good in-family guidance, thanks to John.
No, that's great. So Dr. Calcagno, just kind of going on that thing, obviously partnering with an organization is a huge step for a group that has operated, on their own. For you and your team, tell us a little bit, what was kind of the most challenging part of this process?
I noticed, Bob, you gave me the sort of the Eeyore question, but which is probably fitting. John's laughing. So I'll tell you the two things that were challenging to me, but then try to end on a positive note about it. Being an old guy, the EMR, anything electronic is difficult for me. We had become quite familiar and facile at the EMR that we had for 14 years. So learning a new EMR was difficult. Having said that, their EMR is a lot more powerful than the one we were using. It's next gen. And it's powerful in that, to touch on some of the things that Dr. Deal said, you can use this EMR to look back and figure out how you're doing, whether it be just for your own peace of mind or writing a research paper. It's a very powerful EMR. So once I finally get the hang of it, which I'm hoping, I've gotten a lot better in the last month or two, I think it's going to be a big plus. I would say the other negative, and then I'll put the positive spin on it, is the roles of the staff has been different. John and I were kind of not doing everything ourselves, but sort of. Whereas there's a much bigger role for the nurses and medical assistants with the CVR flow. And while that's a tough transition, both for the doc to let anyone else, not just do everything yourself, and for the staff, ultimately, when you see some of the more polished centers like Dr. Ken Wynn's center, who's on the call, it's truly amazing once everybody gets the hang of it, how productive the doctor can be. So instead of, the doctor doing a lot of paperwork, the doctor's, fixing veins, which is ultimately what we want to be doing. Would you agree with that part, John?
Yeah, I think that, one of the things, I guess this happened for us after we had already made our decisions, but one of the things that impressed me when we did the site visit was the patient flow and the whole system and how it was done. And I sort of bought into it pretty early. I sort of chucked my old computer on like day 2 and just cold turkeyed it into NextGen because I thought if I don't do that, I'm not going to learn it. So I like it. I think it's harder for the staff, quite honestly, but I think they're getting the hang of it. You know, we've only been at this for 3 months, and I think by 6 months, I'm hoping we'll be a well-oiled machine. But they're getting better. I think it's hard for them to learn. I think Dr. Lackenpaul was honest about that, and he said this is going to be difficult for the first several months, and that's exactly what we found. But when I look at all the pieces together, I would agree with Dave. There's so much information, and it's just a lot of data and things you can determine and see what you're doing and track outcomes and so on and so forth. So I just think it's good for patients and the doctor. But I think we're early in the process at this point.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate Dr. Rossi and Dr. Calcagno, you guys, talking to this group, and it's great. The one reason that I did want you to be on this panel is because you've just recently gone through this. So they're new partners with us that just started, in December. So they've only been a part of CVR for, as they mentioned, three and a half months, which is great. And then we have Dr. Shaw, who's been with us for 2.5 years, and then Dr. Deal for 5 years. So we're kind of giving you a good cross section of folks.
Bob, if I might add one thing that's I think is important. The transition team that was sent to our office was excellent. I really thought that was really important. I think we would have been treading water, if not sinking, had we not had that support. We had a tremendous amount of support for that transition team and the trainers that were there, and that was extremely critical. And I was very impressed with that whole process.
No, thank you so much. And if you could just kind of touch on that real briefly, just exactly what the training team did and kind of how long that they were there.
Well, they were there for, the whole time for at least a month, and then some of them stayed longer. And so we still had people come in and help out. So they, whatever role a person was involved in as a staff member, for instance, if it was a vascular tech, then they had a person by their side the whole time, sort of showing them the way it was done with the new NextGen EMR and how CVR did that. And the administrative people at the front desk had their trainers with them the whole time. The clinical people, the nurses, MAs had their trainers with them the whole time. So you basically had a double team the whole time helping our staff learn how to do things. Honestly, you're always going to have staff that's not going to be happy with the process. And so you may have one or two people leave just because they like the way we did things before. But as a general rule, I think it was a really good process. And they devoted a lot of resources to that training. I thought that was something that I had never witnessed before.
Yeah, it truly was impressive. They had, I'll estimate 10 people there, 5 days a week for 4 weeks. It was, they slept in town. It was, I can only imagine the, expense that Dr. Lackenpaul went through to do that, but it was really quite impressive.
So, again, we kind of look at it that it's Dr. Shaw kind of mentioned early on that it's a marriage. And so that's how we like to say is that their family joined our family, and we had a big wedding, and then we had a 4-week honeymoon that we just brought our team to be in there. And really, for me, I've been with the organization since we've started, and to still have kind of that family feel is the thing I'm most proud of. And to see that, we're able to bring these partners in. And I think Dr. Calcagno and Dr. Shaw hopefully kind of saw that with us, that we really are a big family, and then we're welcoming you and your team into our family. And that 4 weeks is really crucial to give that support to the new family members. So, and I appreciate Dr. L was very upfront. I remember him saying that, hey, for 6 months, you're not going to like us because of the EMR, and it takes a while when you're getting used to a new EMR. Even if you're not partnering with somebody, but you're going from paper to an EMR, it's a challenging thing.
And Bob, I'd like to, if I could just reiterate something that Mehul said for the docs listening, who have a lot of staff that have been with them, but perhaps since they started like we did. They're more like family to us, and we were worried, they're hiring me and John, but what happens to everybody else? And on the very first day of the orientation, they said to the entire staff as we met, you all are going to keep your jobs and none of you are going to take a drop in pay. And that was the first thing. And I was impressed because, you're not just worrying about me and John, but John and I are worried about everybody else. And that was very comforting.
Yeah. And, I actually talked to our HR person today, Wendy, and we're very proud with our statistics in acquisitions. We've probably had in partnering over 100 employees that we hired or gave offers to, and 97% of those folks, stay on within the first year. So, again, when we're looking to partner with you doctors, we understand that the reason that you are successful is not just because of the good medical care that you provide, but you've got a great team. And if we're looking to go to Colorado or Florida or Oklahoma or Minnesota, we don't have teams of folks just waiting there to work. So if we're going to partner with you, we're looking to bring on your team. We're looking to bring them on excited. We're looking to bring them on at the salary that they're at now. We may have to adjust their salary even up a little bit, depending upon the benefits plan that you all have compared to us. But, this really is a family. So when we say partner, we're looking to partner with you, but we're looking to partner with your entire team as well. And, we've brought on some tremendous talent. We have Elizabeth Miller, who's on the call and who did a great job helping me with this presentation. She was with Dr. Miller, who joined us in New Hampshire at the end of last year. And now she's become part of our marketing team and just does a great job for us. So, we get stronger, not just from a physician standpoint, but just from an employee talent standpoint as well. So that's something that, every doctor I talk to says, I'm looking out not only for me, but, I need my team to come with me. So that's something we take very seriously. All right. So we're getting down to the end here. So I have one last question for the group. So, and this question is, obviously you always go into a partnership with kind of preconceived ideas. And if you could kind of tell us, what pleasantly surprised you the most when you did your due diligence, but when you joined CVR, what was like, wow, this really surprised me. Dr. Deal, let's go back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, I was with 3 other vein practices prior to coming to CVR. And I was used to a large vein practice where there's what I call the Iron Curtain. There's the doctors and clinical staff, and then there's those people that handle everything else. And I was kept separated from them. And it's a little, it makes you feel a little uneasy in a situation like that, where you feel like you've got a wall between yourself and the operations or administrative side. But you just kind of work through it and hope for the best and hope that everything that's being done is being done properly. So coming into CVR, it was a much bigger practice than some of the other ones that I had been in. So I anticipated a similar type setting, but the intimacy of the people here was what surprised me the most. And I think you've mentioned it already by the word family, and I refer to everybody I work with as my family. And the doctors, sure, we're all like brothers and sisters, and Ken Nguyen and Teresa Soto are, of course, the older brother and sister who act as a parent, and you love them to death, but you want to steal the Twinkie out of their lunchbox every now and then, but you still love them to death. And I banter with them, and going on an Alaska fishing trip with our Alaska doctor. I talk to Mehul here. We help each other out with presentations. So it truly is like a family, but also on the operations side, Joanna, our operations director, I would squeeze her till her eyes popped out if I saw her because I love her so much. She's always there for me. You can reach out to anybody. I've talked to our CFO, Ken Abod, and I have no problem reaching out to him, and he answers me right away. I never would have had that kind of access in the other centers that I had. It's just the transparency and intimacy of such a big organization that really surprised me the most.
Great, thanks, Dr. Deal. Dr. Shaw, I know the answer is going to be our table tennis that we have in our break room here at the center. So just to let you know, Dr. Shaw is an avid table tennis player, and when he came here to visit us, he brought his stuff and he kicked our butts. No, wait, Ken, did he win or did you guys win?
No, it was a tie.
Okay, yeah, let's say it was a tie.
Good answer.
Dr. Lakanpal and I partnered against Rohan and Ken Abad. No, I'm sorry. It was we changed things, but it was fun.
There you go. So other than finding out we had a table tennis group here, what else surprised you?
So, I must commend Dr. Lakanpal for creating the well-oiled machine that CVR has become. And you see that right on the screen right now, success, which is the tree. You don't find the tree without those roots that you see on the screen. The revenue cycle management, the patient services, the training, the financial reporting, the facilities management, the finance, the sales, the IT team, marketing, compliance, the clinic operation, the HR, the whole bit. It's not possible to have all those components which are part of the infrastructure, which is part of a well-oiled machine like CVR. And that's what leads to a success for an organization of this caliber to become what it is and to sustain into the future. Now, I saw that with my own eyes. When COVID hit last year, CVR was able to pull through all those challenges. And I saw Dr. Lakanpal, through his able leadership, navigate through the maze and the challenges every step of the way, how it successfully got over all the hurdles. And I was impressed. I was really impressed with the way CVR handled the whole COVID hurdle. And to reiterate what Bob said, CVR does run like a family. It is very professional, but very friendly. I felt very comfortable dealing with CVR even before the due diligence process. I must admit that the due diligence process is a little intimidating but it's very thorough. It's very appropriate. It is what it should be. And if you, as I said before, if you take things in a stride, you get through it, and it's for the benefit. It's a win-win for both parties because the diligence has to be done, and it is necessary, but it is well done, and it's through a national accounting firm. So obviously there are questions asked which are appropriate, and once it is done, it is for documentation and to make sure that the decisions taken by CVR are appropriate. What I find very impressive is the whole team is very respectful of each other, whether it's between the management team and the physicians, and between the physicians, they're very respectful of each other. And I must say that CVR has been very flexible. I wanted to, this year I decided I wanted to cut back on my schedule and take time to smell the roses. And CVR has been very, very flexible on that front as well. So I must admire, and I must say that it's a great organization. So I have, if anyone has a question, please feel free to reach out to me outside of this meeting, and I'll be happy to answer any specific questions on a one-to-one basis as well, besides this forum.
Great.
So
Thanks, Dr. Shaw. And, Ken says he's ready for you to come down for that rematch. Because we opened I just said today for folks who we were talking about is now I saw our first match being played today in our lunchroom, Ken, that folks were playing table tennis. So it looks like it's back. Season is back open for that. So for folks visiting, Dr. Calcagno and Rossi, same to you guys. Kind of what surprised you the most about after the diligence process and became part of CVR? What was kind of a pleasant surprise for both of you all?
Go ahead, John, and I can finish up after you.
Okay. Well, I'll keep it short and sweet. I think the thing that it has been impressing me, especially recently, is number one, the support and also the responsiveness. If you have a question or a problem, I mean, if I email Ken and ask him a question, I get an email back immediately. And that's really been impressive. It could be 6:30 in the morning and I'll send out an email, and I can sort of be a pain in the neck because I'm up early and continue to work through the day. And so very, very responsive. Rarely let things go, always get you an answer, and very supportive if you need support. So
great, thank you, sir.
I would certainly echo that. I think you get, when you're going to sell your practice, for those who are thinking of doing it, the finances are what you get so focused on. But once that's all done, then you see all these kind of amazing things. I won't dwell on all the help and support, but I do agree with everything that the three other speakers have said. The one thing I will touch on that was a complete surprise to me, wasn't expecting, was the educational programs through CVR. It's really been quite impressive. Every Friday morning we have grand rounds, and you're chit-chatting with people that usually just see up on a podium at a national meeting. The likes of Nick Morrison and Peter Pappas. These guys you're just having a Zoom meeting while you're drinking a cup of coffee with them. That's the other they put a lot of time and effort into education. It's really been, and it was a nice surprise. I wasn't even thinking of that.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, doctors, I appreciate your time and the answers that you've given and the insight you've given to our speakers here. Before we open up for questions, Dr. L, Dr. Nguyen, anything you kind of want to add to?
I'd just say, Bob, that partnership is always a two-way thing, and really, really appreciate all the great things said. But it's so easy to deliver to folks like the ones here. And that's, as Mehul mentioned, an extensive due diligence process. That's really what it leads to. And Mehul, again, just to second what you said, it's like a marriage, right? We turn down more people than we partner with. And it's clearly keeping the same thing in mind, that if we cannot in the end deliver, then the relationship would not work out. And especially if you look at our track record now, it is so good because we are so fortunate to find people like yourself. So everybody here, Zoe, John, Mehul, and David, it's a two-way thing. Thank you for being such wonderful partners for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dr. Nguyen?
I don't think I could say. I think Sanjeev hit it right on the on the head there. This is a complete partnership, and the only thing I can say is it's just really heartwarming to hear some of the comments. You know, a lot of the things that we do on a regular basis, we do it because just as a servant nature. You know, that's just how we think about this. Is that we're here to serve our partners, and it's really heartwarming to hear all the comments because there is a lot of effort that goes into it. A lot of the acquisition teams and all of the meetings that we do and all of the things that we talk about and plan out, and things don't always go perfectly. But the fact that you know, a lot of the things were recognized is really heartwarming, and we really appreciate that very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Nguyen. And, you know, I think one of our recent partners had said it is when we're looking for a partnership and people are looking at us, it's really its philosophy is really what I think really makes this partnership work. And with the folks that are joining us is, you know, if you're looking to partner with an organization, it's really looking for a group that approaches patient care, how you deal with your staff, and really looking at those two things and find an organization that is going to approach patient care and how you treat your staff the same way that you do, because that's really where the partnership's going to work. Is you just have to have the same perspective. And I think that's when Dr. Lachenpaugh mentioned that, hey, there's folks that it just didn't work out, and it's just because the approach was different. Not to say that it was right or wrong, it's just a different approach. So, you know, if you're looking at partnership for the folks on this call, you know, we'd love to set up more in-depth conversations with you each. Feel free to reach out to myself. I also encourage you to reach out to the doctors on this call, and, you know, they'll answer more specific questions that you have. You know, I just want to end on, you know, stronger together. When I go out there and I'm meeting with the docs, you know, my approach is, and I know this is our leadership's approach, is we're just trying to, when I see stronger together, what comes to my mind is, you know, we're trying to bring a group of providers and teams together that can do what's best for our patients. So, you know, stronger together means let's be stronger together for our patients. Let's be stronger together for our staff. Let's be stronger together so we can forward the field of venous disease with research and fellowship and learnings. You know, let's be stronger together so we can make sure that when Novitas or Blue Cross Blue Shield comes and says, hey, we're going to cut your reimbursements, we can stand together and say, no, it's appropriate to treat people who have, you know, all types of disease. So let's stay stronger together for that. You know, let's stay stronger together for each other. Let's be there. So, you know, when you're in your office and you're presented with a case that you haven't seen before, and how am I going to treat this? It's great to be able to call up a Peter Pappas or a Nick Morrison or a David Calcagno and say, hey, I've never seen this before. You know, what do I do here? So let's stay stronger together on that. Let's stay stronger together to fight pelvic congestion. We have a sister company, a Center for Vascular Medicine, where we have Rick Kennedy and Gaurav Lachenpaugh, who kind of run that up. So we know pelvic, you know, venous disease does not stop at the pelvis. So let's stay stronger together and do that. So that's kind of what comes to my mind when I see CVR Stronger Together and kind of what our company's about. Dr. Lachenpaugh, Dr. Nguyen, I don't know if anything else kind of resonates with you when you see that.
No, Bob, I think just want to thank everybody. I think we've taken our hour and gone beyond, but really appreciate everybody joining, and look forward to next steps with most of you.
Great. Dr. Nguyen?
Oh, thank you guys very much. It's well past the hour, so we really appreciate you guys getting on tonight. And just like what everybody's been said, if you ever have any questions about anything, we're happy to be available to you anytime, all the time. So thank you.
Yeah, and once again, thanks. I know we have, some friends, probably half the group I've talked to before at some of the meetings. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in Denver this year at the AVLS. If you're going to be at the IVC next week down in Miami, I'll be down there. So it'll be great to catch up with you. And I know we have a lot of new folks who we haven't talked to before. So, I look forward to, if this is something that resonated with you this evening, I look forward to talking to you more detail about our organization and how we can partner. So take care, everybody, and have a great night.
Thanks,
Good night.
guys.
Good night. Thank you.